It's March 21st and it is officially spring. Hooray, right? It's been a very long winter and cold and mucky for many people, but hooray, we're now in a new season. It's the astrological new year, and we also have a new moon today. So it is a good day for you to sit down and write out some of the things that you want to be building in the coming year, kind of plot your course, so to speak. Now, as far as today's tarot goes, we have 6 cards. So I'm going to walk through the cards first and then talk about the astrology influences that are being spoken about by way of the reference of the cards, and then I'll jump into the diagram I've been sharing with you all. I am accepting donations to help me build a diagram that's not so elementary, maybe something with some wood that I'm going to burn and, you know, something that's a little bit more professional than this makeshift diagram that I've made. But I think visual aids are important because I'm old school, and visual aids for me really help me to understand things. So if you have been donating, which I've gotten a couple of donations, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and it makes a huge difference in me being able to put my time towards making these videos for everyone. So let's go ahead and jump into the cards. The opening card we have for today came in by way of the Knight of Pentacles. The challenge that we're working with is via the Ten of Pentacles, the way through the challenge, the Two of Cups, and then the ultimate outcome, the Hanged Man, clarified by the Seven of Pentacles, and then a 6th card popped out, and that was the Three of Wands. So we have a lot of earth energy on the table today. And, you know, it's interesting because we are in spring, right? It's the season of Aries. It just started. We have all the things that we want to do, and we feel that burst of active fire in our bones, and it's like we're ready, right? But we have this opening energy of the Knight of Pentacles, and it's like, you know, we're sitting on this horse. The horse doesn't want to move yet. It has an instinctual center that is giving an anchor that lends this kind of quality of hesitation, but not so much hesitation as it is almost like a feeling of inertia. Like we want to move forward, but we don't feel the energy and the motivation to do it. The energy behind this card is reminding us to not skip steps, right? Pay attention to your instincts. I remember once I had moved into this apartment, and for whatever reason, I could not get myself to unpack a single box in my apartment. I was not nesting. And of course, you know, when you are looking for a place to live for a very long amount of time, when you finally get that place to live, it's like, oh, I want to put this here, I want to put this there, I want to put my bed over there, and like, you know, put my clothes in my dresser and really nest. But I couldn't do it, and I would find myself reflecting on that. And interestingly enough, you know, about a month into moving there, I realized that there was a really bad mold problem in that apartment, and it took me, you know, another month and a half to find a new place to live. But there was something in my instinctual knowing that was telling me that it wasn't a safe place to nest in. And so that's kind of the energy of this card, you know, and I share that story to lend some context because sometimes the mind doesn't always understand why the body instinctually doesn't want to move towards something, but it is likely something that you'll understand in time. So the energy is take your time, you know, make sure you allow information to come through so that you know where to act, because we have to take practical steps towards that which we want to move toward. We can't just fly off the handle, right? And just like rush toward it. The challenge that we have coming in is the Ten of Pentacles. So this is an energy around material security. You know, it's like that crystallized vision of what material security looks like. And it has posed a challenge for a lot of us in the last couple of years, especially if, you know, you made every effort to kind of set all of your things in a row and make everything line up, and then things shifted. You know, I've been talking to a lot of people in the realm of like how their jobs shifted, like what they were doing for 20 years. All of a sudden, there was like a closed door to be able to do that, and they had to figure out something else to do. So that idea of material security and what does that mean and how do we actually build that, that has shown up as our challenge today and brought in some kind of friction. Now, the way we go through the challenge showed up as the Two of Cups. So we don't have to do everything on our own, right? Like, there is a mutual exchange. We want reciprocity in exchange, and that could be the way through this challenge. You know, find someone that you trust, that you feel like will offer you a perspective that is something that you value and that gives you a different understanding of things. Because oftentimes, you know, if we're only looking at things through our own vantage point, we're missing, you know, at least 359 degrees of perspective. So perhaps, you know, you don't have to do it all alone, and there's some kind of partnership or reciprocity through reflection, even in regard to these challenges that we've been working through. You know, something that comes to mind when I think about the ability to reflect on something emotional, right, is that there are so many shifts and changes in our life throughout the span of our lives. And if we can take a couple of steps back from it, instead of being all enmeshed in it, right, we can gain some perspective. We can see that there were things that were of value that were through that experience, even if it didn't, you know, meet this pinnacle of perfection. And also the reality that, you know, nothing is permanent. So if we want to create stability in our life, then we have to be willing to put the effort there to be able to do that, and not just, you know, expect that we can just plant something once and it's going to bear fruit forever and evermore without any care or attention. Now, the way that we're going to get through the challenge came in by way of the Hanged Man, and you can see that the character in this card isn't doing a lot. They are literally hanging upside down with their arms behind their back, and they seem kind of bound in a way. And this, again, is reminding us to look at things from a different perspective. Oftentimes, my teacher would tell me, we see the world upside down. And the Hanged Man reminds us of that. There's a certain amount of yielding to circumstance that we have to be willing to do, right? If you look at big shifts that have happened throughout history, like the Dust Bowl, for instance, and how much that affected agriculture. It wouldn't matter if you went out with a cup of water and, you know, threw it on your plant every single day. The Dust Bowl was a pivotal occurrence that shifted everybody's life in that time period. And there wasn't any ability that anyone had to control that situation. They had to yield to the situation. Their hands were tied. They had to see things in a different way. And a lot of people saw things in a more simple way, rather than, you know, stacking themselves with all these ideals. And so, you know, whenever the Hanged Man shows up in a reading, it's hinting to this waiting period, you know, like, you can't do things that are impossible to do. So you have to wait until you can do them. And there is this quality of yielding and surrendering to the circumstance to allow more information to come in, to bring a clarity into something that isn't defined. And so we have that reminder again, even though we're in this time of Aries officially, right, that there is a certain amount of waiting and understanding that we are in the process of collecting at this time period right now. The clarifying card came in by the Seven of Pentacles, another card of patience and allowing things to happen and reflecting on the fruits of our labor and what we have put our energy and effort toward, what has grown in our life, and what value we've been able to derive from it. And then the final card that we have for today is the Three of Wands. So here we have that fiery energy of Aries finally coming to the table, which is this person who sees the adventure that is looming, but they don't know what it looks like yet. And so there is, again, this hesitancy. But if you know, consider that we are getting ready to embark on a whole new year astrologically, there is a lot of help out there in this year that the mind wouldn't have you realize or factor in to your variables as you're kind of plotting your course of things to come. You know, I was just sharing with a friend of mine how interesting it is that when people come to us and sometimes want to, you know, have an exchange or have us give them some kind of perspective, or just want someone to, you know, have someone to share something with and process something with. Oftentimes, what gets reflected back to them is something that needs to be heard by the person that's saying it. And it's almost as if life has coordinated this meeting for us to get this wisdom from our higher self that we wouldn't have listened to unless we were sharing it with another person. And so in a lot of ways, there's a lot more help out there in the universe than the mind would have us realize. And of course, there is an energy to the card in that by way of the Three of Wands, because they are getting ready to embark on a great new adventure, right? And make sure that you have everything that you need to go on that adventure, you know, and trust that you aren't going to miss the boat. When it's time for you to get on the boat, you'll have everything prepared. Now, the astrological transits that came in by way of the cards today showed up, as I said, you know, there's a lot of earth energy. So we have a few placements astrologically in the sky that are in the elements of earth. So of course, those earth cards kind of hint to that zodiac astrological transit reflection. And then we also have the Hanged Man, which is a major arcana. It is associated with the sign of Pisces as well as the planet of Neptune. And we have Neptune in Pisces right now. And of course, we have Saturn that just moved into Pisces, which is bringing this level of sobriety and responsibility into this kind of area of fantasy that we have in our lives. You know, this ocean of possibilities. Saturn is coming in and is saying, is that really going to work? You know, is that really in alignment with where we're going? And how do we, you know, throw the things that aren't going to be necessary? How do we take them off the boat so that we can make sure that we get to where we're going? Now, as far as the earth energies go, I think it's referencing the energy of Uranus, which is up in Taurus. And then, of course, Venus just moved into Taurus, and Venus governs Taurus, and it will be in conjunction with Uranus at the end of the month. So this is going to be a really powerful week astrologically as we start to feel the shifts of things. So now we see, by way of this chart, we have the sun that just moved into Aries, right? We have our spring equinox just happened yesterday. Sun just transited into Aries. We have a new moon today, which means the moon is in the same position as the sun. So we see a dark moon because they're in the same astrological or zodiac sign in the sky. And Mercury is there too. So there's a lot of energy moving into Aries. But when you consider that you have the sun, Mercury, and the moon all together, it's like having this bright spotlight on something that is, you can't see it, right? It's too much light. It's too bright. And as Mercury and the sun start to get a little bit of distance, we'll start to get some perspective and movement and energy as far as where we're going and what we're moving toward. Now, consider that at the end of the month, right, the 30th of March, we're going to have Venus, which is right now in the very beginning degrees of Taurus. It's going to be in the exact degree of Uranus in Taurus. Consider that Uranus is the planet of unavoidable changes, unexpected changes, but that makes changes in areas that are preventing us from progressing. So Uranus has been creating a lot of change in this area of stability in our lives for the last few years, because Uranus takes about 7 years to go through a sign. And Venus is going to be in the same space as Uranus. So they're going to be having a discussion in this area of Taurus, wherever Taurus is in your chart. So if you're a Taurus rising, it's going to affect you differently than if you have Taurus in your second house or in your third house or in your fourth house. And so this energy and this blessing, so to speak, of Venus and Uranus coming together at the end of the month is going to be personalized to you based on your astrological chart. Now, it's going to be bringing up these big shifts for everyone, but it's going to be particularly strong for you if you have a fixed zodiac sign, which would be either Taurus or Leo or Scorpio or Aquarius, because it would be in an angular relationship of those signs. So it's going to be creating a square or opposition or conjunction, depending on what placements you have in those fixed signs. So it's going to be showing up there, right? And at the same time that happens, that Venus is going to be over here conjunct with Uranus. By that time, we'll also have Mercury, which will be right on top of Jupiter and Chiron. And so there was this expansion between like where we need to find healing in ourselves, and Mercury will be in that meeting place, so we'll be able to finally put words to it and see it with a little bit of clarity. So there is a lot of shifts and changing that's happening in the coming week, particularly with that influence of Venus with Uranus in Taurus, because Venus brings, you know, blessings of financial nature. It's like your, you know, your great grandmother or your grandmother that shows up and she always gives you love and affection and makes you feel appreciated and valued. That's like the energy of Venus. And it's in its house, right? It rules Taurus, so it likes to be in that energy. It brings blessings. It's comfortable in that house. But of course, Uranus has been in that house for a while, or in that placement for a while, creating a lot of changes. And so having Venus come there, it's like she's bringing some kind of settling, anchoring energy into the conversation. So there are some powerful things happening in our sky, and they're affecting us all in our own unique way. And I feel like in the next coming week, we'll begin to get a lot of clarity as far as where we want to put our energy and direction in this coming year, particularly because, you know, Saturn just moved into Pisces. It's creating this sobriety in that area of the unknown, and we just shifted out of Pisces. So consider, you know, what you want to grow this year and what you need to make sure everything's going to grow in a as productive and as fruitful of a way as possible, right? Because you may want to plant something today and harvest it in a week, but that's not realistic. The things that we plant every day take time to develop. They take time to mature. They take time to ripen. And, you know, at least by way of food, we don't usually have the great harvest, right, until later on in the year, in like September. And so what is it that you want to plant in your life that you know you're going to work on and put your energy toward, that you know you want to be able to harvest come September or even the end of the year? And I encourage you to sit down and write that out today, because it is a new moon and it is a powerful time to do that and to kind of cast your wish out into the world. I send you all a lot of love. And again, of course, if you are in need of some processing, want to look at your chart, want to look at some cards for yourself, or talk about health conditions, just feel free to reach out to me at rootsofalchemy@gmail.com, or find my services page on my website, rootsofalchemy.com, and we'll set some time up. I hope you're well, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.